Welcome to Healthy Bites. My name is Karen White, and I am a registered dietitian living in the town of Westboro who's trying to help people to eat healthier one bite at a time. So those of you who follow the show know that every semester Westboro TV comes to Framingham State University and tapes our students that are in my course. The students are in our coordinated program at Framingham State, and they are graduate students, and they are soon to be registered dietitians in the upcoming spring, summer, when they finish our program and take the RD exam. So as part of the curriculum in my course, we put together a show, and they are part of Healthy Bites. And this semester, we have gone virtual with the magic of Westboro TV. And with that, the students have come up with a great theme. They have come up with some great tasty recipes that are easy to prepare to help us all get through the pandemic. They've also come up with some great shopping tips and some great ways to use those frozen vegetables that you've bought, or those canned products, canned veggies, canned beans. So with no further ado, I would like to start the show for you. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. And thank you for watching Healthy Bites. So I have the pleasure of now introducing Rachel and Dawn, and they are going to tell us why they chose the recipe they did and perhaps why it's their favorite recipe. And with no further ado, I am going to turn it over to them.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Hey, everyone. My name's Dawn, and I'm a graduate student here at Framingham State University. Today, I'm going to be cooking an Asian-inspired chicken and vegetable stir-fry served with a side of brown rice. I love this recipe personally because it uses affordable ingredients. For instance, the chicken I'm using is chicken thighs, which is a super affordable cut of chicken, frozen vegetables, and a quick cooking brown rice. And I also love this recipe because there's so many ways you can make substitutions for these ingredients if you're not really a fan of them, or if it's just something you don't typically use. And luckily today, my partner Rachel is going to be showing you guys some substitutions you can make and shopping tips you can do for this recipe while you're in the grocery store. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am also a graduate student at Framingham State University, like Dawn. And I am really excited to take this recipe through the grocery store and look at different affordable ways that we can make substitutions in the recipe and make it something that you can enjoy. So I'm going to go through the grocery store, talk about some store hours with the COVID-19 pandemic, and work through some ways that we can make this recipe our own. So I'm really excited to show you guys that.
Hey guys, my name's Dawn, and today I'm going to be making a chicken and vegetable stir fry with an Asian sauce. So to start, I'm using chicken thighs. I love to use chicken thighs because they are basically the same as chicken breast, except they have a little bit more fat. So you're really getting the same nutritional value, just with just a little bit extra fat, but it's not really substantial enough to be a deal breaker and not buy it. And it also tastes a lot better than chicken breasts, in my opinion. So I started off by chopping these into bite-sized pieces. And today I'm going to make a sauce right now to marinate them, and we're also going to use the sauce to cook the stir fry. So I'm going to set these aside, and we're going to start making the sauce. So I'm using a tablespoon of cornstarch, and that's already in this bowl. And I'm going to add to it a half cup of chicken broth. You can use any kind of broth you like here. I'm using a 1/4 cup of soy sauce and a 1/4 cup of water. This is a really simple and easy sauce. And I'm going to grab my whisk. So all the ingredients to the sauce are low sodium, so it's low sodium soy sauce and low sodium chicken broth. And I'm just gonna mix this together, and I'm going to put this over here. I'm gonna pour half of this, maybe not half, maybe just a little bit, over the chicken to marinate it really quickly. This doesn't need to marinate very long, just a few minutes. I'm just gonna mix it together. All right. Now, I'm going to cook this. So if you want to come over here, I'm going to turn my pan to medium-high heat. I'm using a non-stick skillet. You can use a wok, a cast iron skillet, really anything for this. I like a non-stick because nothing will stick to the pan. So this is olive oil. I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons. I'm going to put my chicken in here. And this will probably take maybe 5 minutes to cook. So you want this to be totally cooked. Okay, so my chicken's just about done. And I'm going to set this aside on a plate. And now I'm going to put the pan back on the heat. And I'm going to start cooking my vegetables. So I'm using a stir-fry blend of frozen vegetables. And these are really great because they're super cheap. They're just as nutritious as any other vegetable. And you can keep them in your freezer so they won't go bad. So you can see they're already kind of chopped up. So these are going to cook really fast. And if you want, you can defrost these in the microwave first before they hit the pan. I just put them in frozen. So these are just going to take a few minutes to cook. Yeah, what a lot of people don't know about frozen vegetables is that when these are harvested, they're frozen right away. So the nutrient content is higher, if not, better than some produce that's flown in or shipped in on trucks in the grocery store. So frozen vegetables are great. Don't be afraid of frozen vegetables. So I'm just gonna keep letting these cook, and you can see they're defrosting really fast. And they will release some water, but that's okay because we're making a stir fry anyways. So you can also lay these on a sheet pan and roast them if you want. You might get a little more flavor out of them. So once these have cooked a little bit, I'm just going to give it a few more minutes. I'm going to add some chopped up garlic. This is 3 cloves. And this is just going to make it taste a little better. Give it some garlicky flavor. And I'm just going to let this keep softening a little bit. I'm going to turn my heat up. And I'm not adding any salt or pepper to these or the chicken just because I'm using a sauce that has some salt in it, which the soy sauce will give it enough flavor, and the garlic's going to give it enough flavor. Alright. So this looks good. I'm going to add my chicken back into this. And all the juices. And I'm going to add the remainder of our sauce back in. And the cornstarch in this sauce is really going to thicken it up. So once the cornstarch hits the heat, it's going to activate it and make it thicker. So this just needs a few minutes to come together. So while this is simmering, I'm going to show you our side dish. So our side dish today is a quick cooking brown rice. This rice is awesome because it's so cheap. It comes in little packages in your rice aisle. It's a whole grain, so this counts as a whole grain, and all you do is you remove a little bit of the packaging, throw it in the microwave, and it's done for you in a minute and 30 seconds. So it's super quick, super cheap, great source of fiber here, lots of whole grains, and it's a great side to this stir fry. And as you can see, it's already boiling, it's already coming together and getting nice and thick. So I'd say this is done, and I'm going to serve it up. So I'm going to turn the heat down, and I'm just going to do a few scoops of brown rice. Yeah. I'm going to add some of our chicken and veggies with our sauce. And this will be our finished product. Chicken and vegetable Asian stir fry with brown rice. And if you aren't a fan of any of these ingredients or a few of the ingredients, my partner Rachel, who's at the grocery store right now, is going to share with you guys some great tips to substitute any of these ingredients today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you make this at home, and yeah, be healthy.
Hi Westboro TV, my name is Rachel Levine and I'm here at Stop and Shop in the Westboro Shopping Center. Today we're going to be learning some tips and tricks to shopping on a budget. When shopping during COVID-19, be sure to be wearing your mask and also pay attention to the abbreviated hours for elderly and immunocompromised personnel. What a great shopping trip. I love that Westboro Stop and Shop. And they have all the social distancing guidelines laid out, and they're sanitizing their carts and their shopping baskets really well, so that was really great to see. I have some awesome tips and tricks for shopping on a budget for all of you, and I'm really excited to share. Before leaving the house, I checked my Stop and Shop flyer, which is something that we should all do before we go shopping, and see if there are any things on sale. I regularly get this on a weekly basis to my house, but if you don't, that's okay too. They always have it available online, and you can access it and see if there's anything worth your while going out to the store. Now, I did see that Purdue chicken thigh was on sale for $1.79. No, it was $1.49. It was $1.49 per pound, and I was really excited about that. But unfortunately, they didn't have it in stock when I went there. I should really stop going to the grocery store so late at night, but with school and everything, I just can't help it. But I ended up getting this skinless chicken breast, which, like Dawn said, has less fat content than the chicken thigh, and because of that, you're generally going to be paying a little bit more. But the good news was that I was able to find that chicken breast for $1.79 a pound, so it was comparative to the chicken thigh, which unfortunately should have gone earlier, but you know, still a good buy, and I'm still happy with it. Some of you out there might be wondering, why does she keep saying she only paid $1.79 or she was looking for $1.49? What I'm talking about is unit pricing. And unit pricing at the grocery store is a way that you can check to see which items are going to give you the most bang for your buck. Unit pricing is listed next to the price that you would actually pay for an item. And it lists how much an item is per unit of measure, whether that be ounces, like in canned vegetables and frozen vegetables, or pounds generally in meat products. And when you look at those unit prices, you're going to see which options are the most affordable and the best for your wallet. So definitely check those out next time you're shopping. What else did I get? Oh, yeah. So I went with some frozen corn today. I have some frozen vegetables, a little bit of stir-fry mix left over from the last time that I made this recipe. And so I just wanted to integrate some more corn. So I thought, all right, I'll just get the individual corn frozen vegetables, which is another great thing about those frozen veggies. They're already prepared, or they're already cut up or packaged for you, and you can mix them however you want because they do sell varieties that are just one vegetable. So that's really awesome. But I also thought, I was like, let me see how much the canned corn is, because I've always wondered the price difference between canned and frozen vegetables. I know they're cheaper than the fresh vegetables or pre-cut fresh vegetables, but what is their difference? And I'm just going to get my receipt out to make sure that I get these numbers right, so I'm giving you all the right details. So this canned corn actually was 5 cents per ounce. The unit price was 5 cents per ounce. And the frozen veggies were, they were only 17 cents per ounce, which is still super cheap and still a reason to go with your frozen veggies. But just think about next time you go shopping, checking out the unit pricing for the canned varieties of the veggies that you want to include in this recipe, because it can be another great way to save some money. When I was in the canned section, I also noticed that I wanted some extra protein in my stir-fry dish when I was making it. And this is a great option for people that follow a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, or just don't eat meat products because it's not something that they like. And I got some canned chickpeas as well as some canned black beans. And these are a great way to get protein in your dishes without adding meat products. And one thing I did notice that I'm kicking myself about is I forgot to get the low sodium option. And so that's something that's really important when you're shopping for canned goods. So in order to preserve the foods in canned food items, salt is generally added. And that salt is something that we want to avoid when we're making high sodium sauces with our dishes, or moderate sodium sauces, because we did use the low sodium soy sauce, so it will be a little bit lower than if you were to use a regular soy sauce. But I'm not out of luck, because there's some great ways that you can get the salt off of these items at home. And one of those is putting your items, your canned goods, in a strainer and running them under lukewarm water. And that should be done for a few minutes in order to get all the salt out and make sure that you're mixing it around with your hand or with a spoon so all the salt comes off. So I think I'm just going to have to do that with my beans and my chickpeas when I include them, because I definitely want to keep that salt out. But it's something that you guys can do as well at home if you have some extra canned goods lying around that are not low sodium. And last, I noticed this, and this rice here is similar to the one Dawn used. I believe it's a different brand. And then there's this minute rice here. And each of these are both pre-cooked, so they're already been prepared, and all you have to do is add water in order to rehydrate them and get them hot to a desired temperature. And I thought, well, this is strange. I like these little individual packages because I'm only going to have really one serving of rice. But this, why would I even consider this? Well, I took a look again at the unit pricing, and checking my receipt here, I can see that, yeah, crazy. This brown rice that's individually packaged was 23 cents per ounce, whereas this bigger box of rice was 18 cents per ounce. So thinking again about unit pricing, they really saved me some money here. Had I just looked at the individually wrapped brown rice, or individually packaged, because that's some money out of my pocket. And that's another option for you guys as well. While these pre-cooked brown rices are a great option, you can look into not already prepared rices, and those are generally even a little bit cheaper than the pre-prepared options. And again, thinking about some substitutions, while I could have done some whole wheat pasta or some quinoa, I really wanted to go with the brown rice. But if you guys were to choose an alternative grain for your dish, definitely look for the whole grain, like Dawn emphasized with the brown rice. Packages will say 100% wheat or whole grain item, and that tells you that all of the fiber and nutrients and everything that whole grains offer us that we really love are still in that product. So I really hope you guys enjoyed my tips and tricks for shopping today. I'd love to see you all out at the store and enjoying the nice weather that we're having lately, but just stay safe and enjoy your shopping, and I hope these tips and tricks can really bring you some money in your pocket.
So I would like to now introduce our next recipe that we're going to be doing on this show. So we have Ethan and Sarah, and I am not going to give anything away. I'm just going to turn it over to them at this point and let them share what their recipe is going to be and what their favorite part about it, and why they're excited to do it for you. So Ethan and Sarah, here goes to you.
Hi, so we'll be making a protein-packed blueberry smoothie. It will be with Greek yogurt, spinach, peanut butter, flaxseed, and a variety of other ingredients.
So in terms of why we like it, I love this recipe because it's super easy to make. It uses frozen fruit instead of fresh fruit because frozen fruit is generally cheaper and lasts longer at home than fresh fruit. And lastly, it's very versatile. So if there are any ingredients that we're using for this recipe that you don't particularly enjoy, it's very easy to mix in some things that you actually do like. Hello, everyone. As you learned in our introduction, my name is Ethan and this is Sarah. We are graduate food and nutrition students from Framingham State University, and today we will be teaching you how to make a delicious smoothie.
That's right. So what I love about smoothies is that they're so versatile. You can make them at home or on the go, and they're packed with plenty of vitamins and minerals. The best part is that you use so few dishes that it's super easy to clean up.
That is very true. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the recipe we're going to be making today? And as we go along, we can talk about some variations to the recipe.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll be making a protein-packed blueberry smoothie that is loaded with vitamins and minerals. But wait, Ethan, there's a twist.
Well, don't keep me in suspense. What's the twist?
We'll be using frozen fruit today.
I love that. Tell me why we're going to be using frozen fruit instead of fresh fruit.
So we're using frozen fruit because it has the same nutritional value that fresh fruit has, but it's cheaper, it's more convenient, and it lasts longer in the freezer. So not only does it decrease on food costs, but it requires less trips to the grocery store. And during a pandemic, that is important to a lot of people.
That's a really good point. So I've seen a lot of people at the grocery store these days buying things like frozen pizzas and frozen microwavable meals. Those types of foods are okay from time to time, but this is a great reminder that things like frozen fruits and frozen vegetables are a great way to cut down on costs and trips to the store without having to sacrifice on nutritional value. So without further ado, let's get started.
All right, so this is a simple recipe. We'll just take our ingredients, add them to the blender, and then blend until smooth.
So that blender, Sarah, looks like it was designed by NASA and just returned from a trip from space. So do I need a blender with all those different functions to make a recipe like this?
Absolutely not. So any standard blender will work just fine for this recipe.
Great, thank goodness. All right, what are we gonna start with first?
So first, we'll start with 1 cup of frozen blueberries.
Excellent. Blueberries are my favorite fruit. Not only are they delicious, but they have the highest antioxidant content of any fruit. They make a huge contribution to brain function, and they're great for cardiovascular health. However, if you don't like blueberries, any fresh or frozen fruit would work. Strawberries, mangoes, blackberries, you name it.
All right. So next, we'll add 1/4 cup of non-fat plain Greek yogurt.
Is there a reason why you prefer Greek yogurt over regular yogurt?
So Greek yogurt has more protein than regular yogurt, but if you have regular yogurt, that's fine for this recipe. In general, yogurt has probiotics and protein. If you have a dairy allergy or if you're lactose intolerant, a non-dairy option like almond or cashew yogurt will be just fine. And non-dairy yogurt also has a good source of probiotics.
So I'm really glad you bring up probiotics because they are such an underrated part of keeping us healthy. For people who don't know, our gut contains a lot of bacteria, and it's really important to maintain balance between good bacteria and bad bacteria. If left unchecked, bad bacteria can actually make us sick. On the other hand, good bacteria helps aid with digestion, generate certain vitamins, and help support the immune system. Amazingly, 70% of our immune system is located within our gut, so it's really important to eat probiotic foods like yogurt on a regular basis.
So next, we'll be adding 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed. I prefer ground flaxseed because it's easily digested more so than whole flaxseed. Whole flaxseed can pass through our system undigested and you can miss out on key nutrients. Some key nutrients in ground flaxseed are fiber and omega-3 fats, which are important for brain and heart function.
Yeah, so do you cut the flax seeds yourself or can you buy them that way?
I purchase some ground just because it's easier than having to grind them in a coffee grinder or in a blender. I sometimes mix it up and add chia seeds instead. Chia seeds are lower in calories and they also offer a good source of fiber.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I see next we're going to be adding some peanut butter.
Yes. We'll be adding 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. Peanut butter is a good source of protein and fats. The main fat in peanut butter is unsaturated fats or heart-healthy fats. But even fat has a higher amount of calories if it's healthy. So you want to be aware of the serving size.
Yeah, let's not forget another important thing about peanut butter in that it tastes so good.
I agree. But if you don't like peanut butter, you can use any nut butter like almond or cashew butter. And if you have a nut allergy, you can completely skip over this step.
That's great. So what's next?
So next we'll be adding 1 cup of spinach, which just so happens to be my favorite leafy green.
That's right. That's the one thing that you, me, and Popeye all have in common. Well, that and our love of olive oil, but that's a discussion for another day. Spinach is great because it has anti-inflammatory properties and it has vitamins and minerals that support bone health, eye health, and can help prevent against cancer.
But if you don't like spinach, any leafy green will work, like kale or arugula. I find in this recipe you can hardly taste the spinach. So if you know someone that isn't crazy about leafy greens, this is a sneaky way to add them into their diet.
That's really true. I will say though that if you plan on using any leafy green like spinach or kale or arugula, make sure to wash it thoroughly before you eat it, just like we've done here today.
And last but not least, we'll be adding 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk. So today we're using unsweetened because it has no added sugar and I prefer the taste and texture over cow's milk. If you do like cow's milk, using 1% or fat-free skim milk will be fine. They're both excellent for bone health and immune function.
Great. Are we ready to blend?
Yes. Next, we'll just blend until it's nice and smooth.
That looks delicious. So the yield for this is about 16 ounces, right?
Right, so 16 ounces or 2 cups is what this recipe makes. A serving size will be 1 cup. So you can share it with someone else like what we're doing today, or you can put it in the fridge for tomorrow.
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about this recipe and smoothies in general is if you're on the run, you can just take this, put it in a portable water bottle, and be out the door in no time. If you have a little bit more time on your hands, you can throw a quick garnish on there and make it look really nice before you enjoy it. And we're gonna show you how to do that right now.
Yes, so we eat with our eyes after all. Why not spruce it up and make it look pretty? So what we'll be adding is about a half a teaspoon of chia seeds.
I'll take that.
There you go.
Great.
We'll do 1 teaspoon of frozen blueberries. Oops. And then just a sprinkle of coconut flakes. And you lay it on top like what we just did.
This looks so good. I cannot wait to try it. Here you go.
Thanks.
All right, Sarah, cheers. Protein-packed blueberry smoothie. Oh my goodness. It's even better than I thought it was gonna be.
I agree. Not only is this recipe tasty, but it's a good source of antioxidants, protein, probiotics, and plenty of vitamins and minerals.
Good point, Sarah. Thank you all for watching today. We love this recipe and there are so many great variations to it. We hope you give it a shot at home and maybe put your own special spin on it. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy.
So I have have the pleasure of introducing Bella and Lindsay to our next recipe. They are going to introduce their recipe and explain their favorite part and why they picked this recipe as a way to help our communities get through the pandemic with a healthy twist with our eating. So with no further introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Bella and Lindsay. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Karen. So again, I'm Bella.
I'm Lindsay. Bella and we are graduate students at Framingham State University. We are in the coordinated program of dietetics, and we're currently in our community rotation where we get to interact with different population groups to form a meaningful experience with nutrition.
Yeah, and so in our episode, we're going to be making a veggie omelet. It's super easy to make. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and that includes all of the prep work as well. And it's also it's under 10 ingredients, so it doesn't require that much work.
Right, Bella. My favorite part is it's a perfect recipe to empty the fridge. You can use whatever vegetables you'd like. It doesn't have to be the vegetables that we use in this recipe. Whatever you have in the fridge is great. Also, frozen vegetables are a great staple as well that you can use.
Mm-hmm. So during our episode, we are going to talk a little bit more about this in greater depth, but just to give you a couple highlights about the benefits. So eggs are a staple, and they're great not only for protein, but also they're a great source of vitamin D. Adding cheese is going to provide that extra calcium bonus. And these nutrients are so important for specifically older adults because as we age, calcium and vitamin D help maintain bone health. Specifically, calcium helps build and maintain bones, while vitamin D helps your body effectively absorb calcium. So even if you are taking in enough calcium, it could be going to waste if you're deficient in vitamin D.
Great, that's awesome, Bella. So this recipe does serve 2 people. You can make it for your significant other and yourself, or a friend or in yourself. It's 386 calories and 22 grams of protein per serving. And like Bella mentioned, this recipe is great for vitamin D sources and also calcium, a perfect staple for an older adult. We look forward to sharing our cooking demo with you all. It's a satisfying, healthy, nutrient-dense meal.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, this really is a quick and easy recipe. It also won't break the bank. As Lindsay had mentioned earlier, you can really use up any of those vegetables from the fridge that you need to get rid of at the end of the week, or freezer vegetables as well. Hi everyone, I'm Bella.
And I'm Lindsay.
Lindsay and I are going to be making a vegetable omelet. As we said in our intro, super easy, under 10 ingredients. You can really make this any time of day. Breakfast, we're actually making it for an early lunch. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's packed with a bunch of nutrients, specifically focusing on vitamin D and calcium.
Yeah, and we'll get into that more later, but we're so excited to have you joining us today. And right now we're going to melt 1 tablespoon of butter in a skillet over medium-high heat. And this is just to saute the vegetables before we put the egg in.
You also can use oil as a substitute if you have a dairy allergy like myself. Oil is another great substitute. Instead of using 1 tablespoon of butter, you could do 1 tablespoon of oil.
Exactly. So Lindsay's gonna go ahead and grab the vegetables. This is just about melted. And she'll talk you through each one that we decided. We just use whatever we had in our fridge, so.
Yep, so we have red bell pepper, mushrooms, onions, and broccoli. And as Bella mentioned, you can use whatever's in your fridge or freezer as well. Frozen vegetables work just as well.
And frozen vegetables can also be a great way to save a little bit, save an extra buck here and there.
Yeah, these vegetables are packed with fiber, which will also keep you full throughout the day as well.
It smells so good. Just let that saute for a minute.
So how long are we going to saute these for?
Just about 2 to 3 minutes until the vegetables are tender, and then we're going to whisk up the egg. And Yeah, so we'll just let those sit for a minute. You can hear it sizzling. It smells so good.
All right, so we just set the vegetables aside. We're gonna crack our 4 eggs now into a big bowl. Do your best not to get any shells.
So one of the reasons that we had mentioned earlier why this recipe is so great is because it has a lot of calcium and vitamin D in it. The vitamin D is really coming a lot from the egg, while the calcium is coming from the milk and the cheese, which we have pre-shredded here. The reason why it's especially good to get these nutrients as we age is because they're so great for bone health. Calcium actually needs vitamin D in order to get absorbed into your body properly, and when we don't get enough calcium from the diet, from the foods that we're eating, it actually can be taken out of the bones because 99% of the calcium that we do have in our body is stored in the bones. So that gets pulled out when we're not getting enough from the diet.
That's right. So now we're gonna use, this is 1 tablespoon. We're gonna use this 1% milk. You can use skim, whatever you have. And we're gonna do...
Or again, water if you have dairy allergy,
Right.
just to fluff it up a bit.
1, 2, 2. All right. So then we're just gonna whisk.
Great.
And then later we'll be adding in our cheese.
Just put the vegetables back on the heat, and we're about to add our remaining 1 tablespoon of butter to just coat the pan really so that the egg won't stick. You could have also taken the vegetables out, set them aside, and put them in a bowl first, but we don't see the need for that. So we're just gonna mix it all again with the butter. And then we're gonna add our egg. Looks good.
Yeah, and this recipe, it serves 2 people. It's under 400 calories, but you can make it for yourself and just use 2 eggs instead. But like Bella mentioned in the beginning, breakfast, lunch, it's a great meal overall.
Yes, and we are actually, I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit here. A good way to get all the egg cooked is just to sort of move the pan around with your arm, and I like to go around the edges and slowly bring in those cooked edges and then dump more egg onto that side that just cooked through. So I don't know if you can fully see what I'm doing, but I think you can. We're just gonna continue doing this. Even sometimes I like to go in the middle, just move the egg around. It still comes out great. And
This is also a very cost-effective recipe as well. It's under $10 per serving. It's probably under $5. And again, like we mentioned, you can use frozen vegetables, which are fairly cheap, and they also don't go bad. Whatever's in your fridge you can use.
So just in a minute, Lindsay's going to grab the cheese and sprinkle that all over this mixture here. So I think give it one more second. Just gonna get all that.
You can use whatever cheese you like, whatever you have.
Yeah, so you can use Swiss cheese that has a great amount of calcium. We're gonna use Mexican cheese, a Mexican cheese blend. And you can go ahead and pour that over. Just a nice sprinkle.
I wish you guys could smell this. It smells so good.
Don't be shy. I love some cheese, even though you're dairy free.
Even though dairy free, I'm so sad.
But I'll be eating this for lunch. Great. So that is just going to cook for a second. I'm going to actually take it off the heat. I have a little secret trick for my omelets. I like them to come out really fluffy, and I learned this from my dad actually a couple years ago, where we put it in the broiler for just about 30 seconds, and it really puffs up and the cheese melts. It's so beautiful. I'll show you.
I've never done that.
We're going to set it in the oven. The broiler's been on, so it's already nice and heated. It's just gonna go ahead and...
Ooh, I'm tempted to go try this at my house now.
Do you want to come look? It's great.
Oh, look at it.
See?
it's all fluffing up.
Give it one more second and then I'm gonna come over and show you for the reveal.
Okay, so you don't actually shut the oven, you just...
No, you don't, because when the broiler's on, it would bake it if it would more be like a bake. So turn that off. And
Ooh, the cheese is all
voila.
melted.
Let's see if we can get a good flip in there.
You have to flip it.
Well, like a good fold. And
Oh, beautiful.
wow, look at that. Beauty, she is grace. Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for joining us. We're gonna show you one last little clip of us enjoying this, or me enjoying this.
I know next time we'll make one dairy-free, but you can make it dairy-free as we've mentioned, so.
Yep.
Um,
Any modifications, it's super simple.
thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, folks. Our beautiful vegetable omelet. I'm gonna do a little salt and pepper to taste. Sometimes I even add a little salsa if I'm feeling really crazy. But let's give it a bite here. Chef's kiss. So good.
So I have the pleasure of introducing Caitlin and Nina, and they are going to be telling us why they chose their favorite recipe and what they like best about it. So without stealing any of their thunder, I'm going to turn it over to them.
Hi, Karen. Yes, today I'll be making a tuna white bean salad sandwich. Caitlin and I chose this recipe because it has a lot of shelf-stable foods, and it's also healthy that you can make at home with yourself or with your family members, and then you can take the leftovers and store it in your fridge for later.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
Nina. So to pair with that, we are going to make an edamame side salad. So it includes both fresh, frozen, and canned goods. And it adds a little bit of protein and vegetables to the main entree.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nina, and today I'm going to be making a tuna white bean salad sandwich. So the main ingredients in this sandwich is mayonnaise, tuna, white beans, and some fresh crunchy vegetables. Both tuna and beans and the white beans are high in protein. The white beans have high fiber content and high antioxidants, and the tuna is high in omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, and vitamin D. So before I cut up any of these vegetables that I have already prepared, I wash my hands, and I also wash the surface area because it's good to practice food safety, and whenever you're handling food, you want to make sure that your hands are clean and the surface area that you're working with is also clean. So let's get started. So the first ingredient that you want to add is a half cup of celery. So celery is also high in fiber. And fiber helps us feel full a little bit longer. So it's good to include fiber in your diet to maintain a healthy weight or if you're trying to lose weight. And then next we have 2 tablespoons of red onion. And a little tip for when you're cutting up a red onion, you can leave the root on the end of the onion. Like, let me show you right here. You can take off the peel and then leave this root on until you're almost done cutting up the whole onion. And that will help your eyes water less because a lot of the enzymes that make your eyes water are in the root of the vegetable. And then next we're going to add 1 green onion that I already have chopped up. 2 tablespoons of dried parsley. You can also add fresh parsley, but I know a lot of people aren't going to the store as much these days, so the dried parsley definitely works just as well. And then I'm going to add a cup of white beans. I'm just going to leave a little bit of the white beans to the side because we're going to mash up some of the white beans. So as I said earlier, white beans are high in fiber, which can help control blood sugar and achieve a healthy weight and lower cholesterol. And also when you're shopping for canned food items, you want to make sure you're getting low sodium or no sodium, because we don't want to have a high sodium diet, because if we have a high sodium diet daily, then that increases our risk of having medical issues such as like high blood pressure or heart disease. So we want to stay healthy. So to do that, we want to make sure that the canned food items we're purchasing are low sodium or no sodium. And that's a really good way to make sure your sodium intake is less. Okay, so now we're going to add the tuna. We have 10 ounces of tuna. And tuna is a great protein that has calcium and vitamin D, as I said earlier. And calcium and vitamin D work together in your body to promote good bone health. So we want to make sure we're getting enough calcium and vitamin D in our diet, especially during the winter months. Because we're not getting the vitamin D from the sun from October to March in the Northeast. So we want to make sure we're getting it in our diet. So I'm just going to put this aside. And now we're going to start mixing some of our wet ingredients. So we have 1/4 cup of mayo. You can also use Greek yogurt if you want to add a little bit more nutrients, more calcium, more protein. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of lemon. And then we're also going to add 2 teaspoons of white wine vinegar. And then 3/4 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. And 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And with the olive oil, it's high in monounsaturated fats, which are the healthy fats. We want more of these fats in our everyday diet. We don't want to include too much, well, we want to lessen the amount of saturated fats we have. So replacing butter with olive oil or vegetable oil or grapeseed oil when you're cooking is great. So we just want to remember that these fats help promote heart health, and also just to consume them in moderation, because also they are high in calories. So, and then we're going to add the white beans that we left to the side, and we're just going to mash them up a little bit. You just grab my fork over here. I'm just going to mash those beans up a little bit. And then also you can add a little bit of salt. The recipe calls for about 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to add a little bit of salt because the canned food items that I purchased have no sodium. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt for flavor. But if you got canned food items that have the regular amount of sodium that they usually add, then I would definitely recommend not adding more sodium to the recipe. So I'm just going to mix all these chopped ingredients, and tuna and white bean, together. And you can really smell all the flavors coming together. Let's just move that out of the way. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper, and then just a tiny bit of salt. Mix that all in. And now we're going to assemble our sandwich. So I have some whole wheat bread that's also high in fiber. And then some tomatoes and lettuce. I'm using butter lettuce, but you can use romaine. And then we're just going to put a serving of the tuna white bean salad on the sandwich. It's a little less than like half a cup. It seems. There we go. I would say a quarter cup to almost a half a cup would be one serving for a sandwich, depending on who you're serving it for. If it's for a child, obviously, the serving size would be a little less. So, sorry. And then we're going to add the tomatoes and the lettuce. And there we go. It looks really yummy. I'm excited to eat it. So this makes 6 serving size. So this is a good amount of the tuna white bean salad. So you can store this in your fridge for 3 to 4 days, and just want to make sure you put the date on it and that your refrigerator is at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. And so I just want to thank you for joining me today in making this recipe with me, or following along with me while I make this delicious recipe, and tuning into Healthy Bites, because on Healthy Bites we have such great recipes available for the public to make at home, and they're so easy and they're fun, and I love that I get to be part of this show. So thank you so much for joining me.
Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin, and today we're going to make a edamame, corn, and red onion side salad. So what you need is canned corn, some deshelled edamame, a red onion, balsamic vinaigrette, some lime juice, salt, pepper, and some olive oil. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to cut the red onion. Alright, so I already cut up the first half of the onion, so we're gonna cut this next half of the onion. So all you need is a chef's knife. So you start with your fingers in, small slices. I like to hold it together like this. Just be very careful when you're going back and forth not to slice your hand. Another option is to also use an onion cutter. That way you don't risk cutting off your fingers. So now you hold it together across and back down so you can chop it. Don't worry if you get big pieces, you can come back and chop it smaller afterwards. All right, so if you don't like big chunks like this in your salad, what you can come and do is cut it back like this, so your hand on top. Just come around, chop it up. There we go. You can chop it. Alright, now that we have cut up our onion, the next thing we're going to need is the edamame and canned corn. So I wanted to choose some frozen and canned items for this recipe because they're both relatively cheap and they have a longer shelf life compared to our fresh items. So you can have them stored in your pantry or your freezer for a good amount of time before using them. So the first thing that we'll need after the red onion is some deshelled edamame. You need about 10 ounces. So I used frozen. I cooked it in the microwave according to the instructions, and then I threw it into the fridge so it would be cooled before this recipe. You can also buy edamame shelled, and you would just have to deshell it before making this recipe. So the next thing you'll need is some corn. I used canned corn, and I already rinsed it before starting this video. So I rinsed it because this takes away some of the salt that they package a lot of canned vegetables in. So we're gonna add that to our edamame. So edamame is rich in both fiber, and it's a good source of protein. So adding it to your meal can be a good way of getting an extra source of protein into your day. If you prefer not to rinse your corn, that's fine too. It would just be a little saltier compared to the main recipe. So I already had a half an onion cut up here, so I'm gonna add that. You can either use half a medium onion or a full size onion. That's completely up to you and how much you want to use. If you don't like onion, you can also use tomatoes. You can dice them up or you can have them, whichever you prefer. So now I have this nice combination of all of our vegetables in a bowl. So now we're gonna make our dressing for it. So what you're going to need is 1/4 cup of olive oil. Go ahead and pour that in. And then you need about 2 teaspoons of balsamic vinegar. So if you don't have balsamic vinegar or olive oil, feel free to just buy the balsamic vinaigrette dressing. That's perfectly fine too for this recipe, whatever you prefer. Olive oil is a great source of healthy fats, and that's why I decided to use this in our recipe compared to bottled balsamic vinaigrette. I just added about 1 teaspoon of lime. So now we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So if you decided not to rinse your corn, feel free to skip the salt. That's totally up to you. And lastly, you're gonna need 1/4 teaspoon of ground pepper. So I have a little mini whisk here to stir my dressing up. If you just have a spoon, that's fine. Whatever will work. You're just trying to mix it together here before we coat our edamame, corn, and red onion mix. Get that nice and stirred up. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is combine our ingredients together. Just pour that in. I'm just gonna get the spoon so we can get all of the goodness out of here. As I said, if you don't have all of these ingredients, feel free to use a balsamic vinaigrette. And what you're gonna need is about 1/4 cup of that to add to this so that it's nice and coated. So now I'm just gonna scoop it through. Make sure we have it all mixed up in here. Beautiful different colors. All right, and we have our mix here. All right, so we have our finished product here, our edamame corn and red onion salad with a balsamic vinaigrette dressing. I can't wait to eat this. It looks absolutely delicious, and I hope you enjoyed our cooking demo today.
So thank you for watching Healthy Bites, and I hope you enjoyed this show. A big thank you to our students for giving us a show that is so prevalent in these times. So to all of you out there watching the show, stay safe, stay healthy. Obviously, we've shown you today eating healthy is also a big protection against COVID-19. So we always end our every show with Healthy Bites with our little logo. Make everybody a healthy bite.